Hi, my name is Augusta Holyfield, and today I'm going to be talking about Folio 23 verso of the Morgan Crusader Bible. The subject matter, the medieval visual culture, and the bright triumphant air all come together to impart on the viewer a sense of the divine right not just of the biblical kings, but also of the Crusaders. The Morgan Crusader Bible is an illustrated biblical manuscript that depicts stories from the Old Testament, primarily those of kings, and they tend to be more violent than you would expect from an illustrated manuscript of this time. So the scenes that are chosen to be depicted sort of are all themed around war and violence and power. The manuscript was most likely made between 1244 and 1254, which coincides with King Louis's First Crusade. Unlike earlier manuscripts that would have been made by a single monk in a monastic setting, this manuscript was most likely made in a workshop setting. So there would have been one craftsman who created the vellum, so that would be processing a raw calf skin until it was parchment. Once the parchment was created, it would have then been passed along to the manuscript illustrator's workshop. There would have been one designer that would have been in charge of mapping out the entire project. That designer would have decided what scenes were going to be on which pages and would have drawn a rough outline of what he wanted on each of those pages, and then he would have distributed those scenes to the illustrators that worked in the workshop. So the manuscript didn't originally have any text on it. It would have just been the illustrations alone. Sometime after it was first made, it received the Latin inscriptions, which you can see on the very bottom of the page. At some point in the 17th century, it came into the possession of Cardinal Massaczewski of Krakow in Poland, and he gifted it to the Shah of Iran, who put the Persian inscriptions on it, and most likely around that time was also when it received the Judeo-Persian inscriptions, which are also there. So when you look at those inscriptions, it might initially seem like they're in Arabic, but they're actually not. They're in Persian. The Judeo-Persian script is a Judaic dialect written using Persian lettering. So altogether, the manuscript has inscriptions from all three major Abrahamic religions. The manuscript shows scenes from the first book of Samuel, which would have taken place around the 11th century BCE. At the top of the manuscript, you can see Saul and his army taking the Ammonite city. Saul is depicted on the left hand, holding a lion shield and stabbing the Ammonite king Nahash in the head. You can also see other soldiers being stabbed or killed in other violent ways, which is in keeping with the overall violent themes of the manuscript. And you can see in this image that these aren't biblical warriors. They're very clearly medieval French warriors. They're wearing chainmail, and they have maces and axes. They're riding horses, and they have trebuchets. So when the viewer looks at this battle, they're meant to think not of Saul battling the Ammonites, but more the Crusaders battling to reclaim the Holy Land. In the bottom left corner, you can see King Saul being anointed on his throne. He's holding a scepter that has a fleur-de-lis on the top of it. The fleur-de-lis is a symbol of the French nobility. So again, that little detail ties the image of the manuscript not as much to the biblical character, but back to the person who commissioned it, King Louis. And he's also seated on a sella curalis, which is a type of stool that would have been a sort of visual shorthand to imply royalty. In the bottom right corner, there is a sacrifice being made to the Abrahamic God, and an angel is poking its head out from the top to look down at the scene below.